Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of this channel called Patrick the Runner. My name is Patrick Sheridan, and as always I am here to talk about running. Before getting started, I just wanted to say again a massive thank you to everyone who's been tuning in so far, to everyone who has been subscribing to the channel, to everyone who's been pressing the like button, and to everyone who's been leaving their questions in the comments section below. Please do keep leaving your questions in there because I'm happy to answer them, and I have been really enjoying the interaction. With that in mind, I just want to move on to the purpose of this week's video, and I suppose the purpose is twofold really. So firstly, I'm going to do a quick recap of the 5k that I did at the weekend, and as you might know, it was the second sub 15 attempt within the space of a week that I did, and I'm going to give a wee bit of an analysis on that and talk about that briefly. But then I'm going to go on in the second part of the video and discuss what my plans are over the next couple of months and what my plans are really going to be for 2024 and the season ahead, because I am going to discuss in detail what my main objectives are, and I'm going to also discuss how I'm going to go about structuring my training with a view to achieving those objectives. So I hope you all enjoy this. Now we'll go and see how I get on in that 5k. Okay, so hi everyone, we're back here at the Victoria Park for another attempt at the sub 15 5k. The key this week, I think, is just to try not to go out too hard over the first k. The first k last week was 2:44, so this week I'm going to try to keep that around 2:55 to 3 minutes. Ideally, probably closer to 3 minutes, to be honest, and then hopefully I can just keep building on that from there. But that's going to be the key thing, just trying to get the pacing right, and then hopefully the race sorts itself out after that. The conditions are good, it's not raining and it's not windy, so I'm going to give it everything I have, and hopefully we're going to get under 15 minutes today. But wish me luck. I'm about to start my warm-up here. I'm going to do my 2 mile as usual, then I'm going to do my stretches and strides, and then we're going to be ready to go. So yeah, wish me luck. So as you can see there, it does feel like it's a wee bit of a deja vu this week again, because as you've all seen, I didn't quite run under 15 minutes again. I ran 15:13 in this park run, so that was actually 2 seconds slower than the week before, which was disappointing. It actually happened to place me third in the list of UK park run times this week, so that means I was the third fastest park run in the country at the weekend. But it's not really a consolation because, as I said, I was 2 seconds slower and didn't quite get under that sub 15 minute barrier again. I'm now going to give a quick breakdown of the race. I'm not going to go into too much detail because the reality is that I just wasn't able to do it, and I did give it everything. The conditions were good again. I just wasn't quite as fit as I had hoped that I was. So that's really it, and that's why I want to use the rest of the video to talk about what I'm actually going to do over the next couple of months to make sure that I keep getting fitter. So yeah, I'll go into the race now. So firstly, last week, the main issue for me, as I had discussed in the video, was that I had gone out too hard. I think I had run the first K last week in 2:44, which was 13:40 5k pace, so that means that if I had run 2:44 for 5k's, I think I would have run approximately 13 minutes 40 seconds, which I obviously wasn't fit enough to do. And last week I did say in the video that I felt that I basically blew up a bit because of the fact that I had gone out so hard. So the idea this week was to go out somewhere between 2:55 and 3 minutes and hope that I could basically just push the pace on the last couple of k after having gone out more conservatively. So at the weekend there, I did go out more conservatively. I think I ran the first K in 2:55. I'll put the splits up here for you, but roughly from my head, it was 2:55 for the first K, then 2:56 for the second K, 3:03 maybe for the third, then 3:02, then 3 minutes flat or something along those lines. Again, my watch was a wee bit off, so if you're wondering there why the K splits aren't adding up in your head, it's just because the watch ended up calculating the distance as 5.07k, so that's why there's a slight discrepancy there between the split time and the actual time that I've recorded as my finishing time. But yeah, what I'm saying is that I did pace the race better, but in the end that didn't really matter because after a few K my legs still felt pretty bad. So the first K I felt marginally, I would say, better than the last week because I had gone out not as hard, but I wasn't actually feeling as good as I was hoping to feel after having gone out more conservatively. I ran the second K then at about 2:56, and at that stage I probably did think I could be on for under 15 minutes. The third K then was a wee bit slower, I think just a wee bit over 3 minutes, and then it was the last lap. I think I said last week it's a 3-lap loop, and it was the last lap that I really was just trying to push the pace on, and my legs just weren't allowing me to do that. I had said last week that my legs sort of felt like they'd gone to jelly, and that's what sort of happened again in the last lap. So there's not a whole lot to be said more than that. I just wasn't able to do it on the day, and I give it everything, so you can't really do much more than that. I know I had said last week that I was really disappointed, and this week I was disappointed again, but to be honest, I just told myself beforehand that I was going to give absolutely everything, and if I didn't do that, there's nothing really to be overly annoyed at because it's just a case of me having to work harder and work smarter to ensure that I'm going to get fitter over the next, few weeks and months. Like, that's all I can really say. There's nothing that I could have done more on the day, whereas last week I maybe thought that if I had gone out a wee bit more conservatively I could have done it, but it just wasn't to be, and I'm just not quite where I was hoping to be just yet. So that was the first thing I wanted to just address, the actual pace that I had gone out at. So secondly, I know I had spoken last week about my running form and that it wasn't that good. I think this week it was a lot better and it felt a lot smoother. Obviously the time shows that I was slower, but what I'm saying is that I felt like I was consciously thinking about my running form and trying to keep my stride as smooth as possible and sort of like to make sure that my knee drive was high by kicking my legs out at the back sufficiently and not getting too tight up around my shoulders, which sometimes I can do and I have done in the past. And basically, yeah, I just felt like I was keeping my form fairly well. My stride lengths seemed to stay fairly long, which was good, not to the point that I was overstriding, but I think I said in last week's video that what I do have the tendency to do once I start to tire is to revert to type, which for me is quite often to go into quite short strides and to basically understride a wee bit, which means I'm working harder to sustain the same pace. So I don't think I was doing that, and I know my time was slower than last week, but I did feel like it was a smoother run, if that makes sense. There was only 2 seconds between this week's and last week, so in reality there's not much difference between the two races, so that's just how I felt. And that might sound a wee bit silly because I did run 2 seconds slower, but I think I just did feel a wee bit better during the run for whatever reason. Thirdly, I know I had spoken about my heart rate the week before, so that's the final issue that I wanted to address. It got up to 178 beats per minute. That's the highest it got on the race according to my heart rate monitor. So that's not quite as high as I was hoping it would be able to get to. The highest that's been recorded was on June the 16th, that was a Friday, and it was 191 during a 10k race on that night. So it's maybe a wee bit disappointing that it was 13 beats off, but I'm not really sure what that's attributable to. But what I do know is that I couldn't have pushed it any harder, and maybe that's something when I get testing over the next month that I can maybe try to find out a wee bit more information as to why that might be happening. But yeah, that's really the race recap. There's not much more to be said. I give it my all today, and I just wasn't quite where I was hoping to be. So now I want to talk about what my plans are moving forward and what my main objectives are over the next few months, and hopefully you'll all find that really interesting, and hopefully you'll all find that there's things that can help you in your own training based on what my goals are and how I'm going to talk about how I'm going to go about them. Okay, so firstly, I just wanted to address whether or not I'm going to be running any more 5k or 10k races before the year is out. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I am aware that when I first started creating these videos a couple of months back in September, I did say that I had two main aims before the year was out, and that was to run a sub 15 minute 5k and to run a sub 31 minute 10k. Now, unfortunately, as you're probably aware, I haven't done either of those two things yet. What I would say is that I have come close. I have run 15 minutes and 11 seconds for the 5k, and I have run 31 minutes and 32 seconds for the 10k, and to be honest, I've been really disappointed that I haven't yet done this, and that has really annoyed me and has played on my mind heavily over the last week or so when I've been trying to decide what I'm going to do over the next couple of months. And what I have decided is that at this moment in time anyway, I'm not going to be doing any 5k or 10k races before the year is out. And the reason primarily for that is because my main focus over the next few months is going to be on the indoor track season, which is starting in January 2024 and probably goes on to about February or March time. And really, why I can't really be doing any other races before then is because it will just distract me from what really are my main goals and objectives. And for example, when I did those two park runs consecutively, I had to taper down my training the week before each of those to ensure that I was in a good place to be able to run a fast time, and that meant that I wasn't really doing the mileage that I usually was doing, and that I wasn't training at the same intensity that I usually do. So that can often result in you losing fitness when you're doing that on a regular basis. So I can't really justify doing another 5k in 4 to 6 weeks before Christmas just to make sure that I do this 15 minute 5k before the end of the year. To me, that wouldn't really be sensible, and it wouldn't be having an eye on the bigger picture, which is the track season ahead. So I hope you all understand that those are the reasons why I'm doing that. And I also just want to reiterate that those definitely aren't objectives that I am not going to see through. I would think that that's definitely something that's achievable for me over the next few months, and I would think that in my next 5k race I will run under 15 minutes. It just might be in the new year, and it probably will be early in the new year. I know in Northern Ireland, in Armagh, there's a very competitive race over the 5k called the Armagh 5k, I think, and it is often really jam-packed with high quality athletes who run really fast times. So I would actually be hoping that I would run considerably under 15 minutes there, but as you all know, I haven't run under 15 minutes yet, so anything under that would be good. And similarly with the 10k, I'm sure I will do a race at some stage in the early enough new year, but for now it just doesn't make sense for me to put all my efforts into trying to accomplish these fairly arbitrary goals. And what I mean by arbitrary is that they're goals that I've set myself, and there's no real need for me to have had that deadline other than for me to give myself some incentive. And that was really, really good, and I really enjoyed trying to accomplish those. But I just feel that it wouldn't be sensible, as I've said, for me to continue to try to do those when what I actually should be doing is getting a consistent block of training put together so that I can actually develop my fitness and put myself in a position where I'm able to run those times, and I'm not just racing week after week trying to get these times and chase these times. What I also would add is that over the last couple of weeks, trying to get that 5K time has been really, really enjoyable, but it's also taken an awful lot of my energy. I really haven't slept well at all the last couple of weeks. That has been not due to nerves, but due to excitement and due to me really, really wanting to run under that 15-minute barrier for the 5K. But it's not really good for my training, and a big part of sport is recovery, and I just feel like over the last couple of weeks that has really been consuming me and completely eating me up. And I've been waking up in the middle of the night thinking like, right, yes, I'm going to run under this 15-minute 5K, and I've been having dreams about it where I run under it, and then I've been having some dreams where I haven't been running under it, and I've been waking up, as I've said, in the middle of the night and not sleeping the best, and waking up at like 5 or 6 in the morning and thinking like, right, I'm ready to go here. And it's just been a wee bit too intense. I am often like that as a person, but for performance purposes, it's not really conducive to actually fulfilling your potential, because it just means that you're constantly on edge. And what I'm saying is that I wasn't really training as well because of that, and effectively that just, I think, led to me becoming very tired and sluggish during my running sessions, and this wasn't really something that helped me on the day of the races. So I'll always get really, really excited before runs, and that's something that really helps me. And I'm a bit of an obsessive person. I will always really, really be focused on what I'm doing, and it will consume me. But I also don't think that I was actually at a fitness stage where I was able to do that particular 5K park run under 15 minutes, and I now know that I've given it everything the last couple of weeks, and I just wasn't quite there. So trying it again in 2 or 3 weeks time probably wouldn't work, because I'd probably be in a similar place and I would probably fall just short of it again. So what I'm saying is that after a consistent block of training where I'm just focusing on a race in the future, which is slightly further away, like maybe 8 or 10 weeks time, I think that will give me the opportunity to focus more on what it is that I actually need to do, which is develop some fitness. So I hope that makes sense for y'all. I am really disappointed, to be honest, that I haven't quite accomplished those goals before the new year, but I promise you I will not stop until I do accomplish them. So it's not something that you will not hear me talking about again. I will do them, and hopefully the videos will be exciting when you guys actually see me do something that I said I'm going to do. And I do feel a wee bit disappointed in that. I know people will say that I shouldn't feel like this, but I do feel like I let people down when I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it. And I do find it a bit embarrassing, to be honest, when I'm creating these videos and then I don't quite do something that I'm going to say. But I also hope you all do understand that this is part of the journey, and that this time last year, as I've said, I was running about a 37-minute 10K, and no one would have told me that I could be running a low 31-minute 10K 12 months after, or that I could be running the 1500 time that I ran in the summer after not having run for 8 years, and similarly with the 5K. So I hope you all do have faith in me and enjoy the content and realize that I am going to get these times, and that it's just a matter of sooner rather than later. And I promise you all that this content will continue, and that I'm going to keep doing everything I can possibly do to make sure that I get these times and that I achieve these goals. But what I'm saying is that the focus for me is on the indoor track season, and I think that I have the attributes to be a very good middle distance runner, and that will probably be my best distance, being the 1500 meters or the 800 meters. So that has to be my focus, and I have to, as I've said, have an eye on the bigger picture. And I hope that all makes sense to you. And now I'm going to talk about what my plans are over the next 8 weeks or so, and how I'm going to plan that indoor season. Okay, so I just wanted to let you all know what my plans are for this week specifically. And my plan for this week is actually not to run at all, which is something that I don't really like the fact that I have to do, but I do feel I have to do it in order to let my body recover from the training that I've done. I haven't taken an extended period of recovery. When I say extended period of recovery, I mean more than 1 or 2 days since April. So that's about 6 or 7 months ago. And I just feel it's time to give my body a bit of a rest. I always say that when you're running, there's one basic formula that you need to think about in order to make improvement, and that is stress plus rest equals progress. So I think over the last 6 months, I put my body under a fair bit of stress, but I probably haven't been getting adequate rest, which means that, to be honest, I haven't made the progress that I think I could have and should have done. And really, what I'm saying is that anytime you're training, you're putting your body under stress and you're putting yourself under physical exertion, and you're hoping that after that you'll be able to recover, and that will allow you to make the necessary adaptations in order for you to come back fitter and to be able to run faster. But that process only happens when you actually get the recovery that you're hoping to get. And I feel like recently, particularly over the last month or two since that 10K I did at the end of September, that I haven't really been getting the adequate recovery, and that's been leading to a bit of a plateau in terms of my running performance. So there's a few things that have told me that. Firstly, as I've said, my running performances haven't been quite what I was hoping. I was a wee bit short in running under that 15-minute 5K. I was also a wee bit short in running under the 31-minute 10K. So the races tell me that I'm not quite making the strides forward that I should be making. Now, I know that it will be harder as I get faster to make those improvements, and I definitely won't be able to make the improvements at the same rate as I did this time last year because I've got better, and it's just harder to get even faster as you go along and as you get better. What I'm saying is that the margins become smaller, and I completely understand that. But at the same time, I still think that I should be able to run a wee bit quicker than I'm currently able to based on the training that I've done and what I'm doing in training. And I also think that I've been given other indications that something isn't quite right. And when I say something isn't quite right, I don't mean that there's anything fundamentally wrong, but there's 1 or 2 signs that I should be taking an extended period of rest, and it is only going to be a week, so I think it will be good for me in the end. But what I have been noticing over the last couple of weeks is that when I've been looking at my sleep data and my heart rate data on my watch and on my phone, it's been telling me that I'm not getting adequate sleep. It's been telling me that on a regular basis, and it's also clear that my resting heart rate has been elevated by about 6 or 7 beats per minute, which isn't really a great sign ever, because it's usually a sign that you're 1, overtraining, or 2, not recovering well enough, or 3, sick. So those aren't things that are really good for high level performance, as you could probably guess. So basically, it's now a few days after I've decided to take a rest, and I have noticed that my heart rate has gone down while sleeping. So about 6 to 8 weeks ago, my resting heart rate was about 32 beats per minute. Over the last 6 to 8 weeks since that, really, it has gone up to about 38, 39, 40 beats per minute. And that's something that's a wee bit of a concern, as I've said, for the reasons I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. And it's something that I haven't really been able to sort out until the last couple of days when I've started running. I've noticed now that my heart rate, my resting heart rate that is, has come down to 35 beats per minute, which is probably more like getting towards where it should be. So it's obviously said that to an extent your resting heart rate will come down as you get fitter. So it's funny that I've stopped training for a few days and my resting heart rate has come down about 3 or 4 beats per minute. And I think that's just because I'm now sleeping a bit better due to the fact that my body's in a recovery mode and I'm not under so much stress. And I think another factor why I needed the rest was because, as I've said, I really was obsessed about running under this 15-minute barrier for the 5K, and it was causing me to not sleep very well over the last number of weeks. And that's fine, and that's fine that I'm getting excited about races, but it's not really good when you're training and when you're trying to make yourself as fast as you can. It's not really good to be in a position where you're waking up tired every morning and you're running tired every morning because you can't sleep. And I'm not just saying that I stopped because the sleep was bad, but I think the sleep was possibly bad because I was training and tired from the training, and that I basically just wasn't allowing my body to shut down. And what I'm saying is that I feel like I need a bit of a factory reset, and I feel fresh already for taking a couple of days of rest, and I'm hoping that I'm really going to be able to make the benefits from the training I'm getting as soon as I resume training. And as I've said, I've also read that taking a week recovery can actually help your body to make the adaptations that maybe it hasn't been making over the last number of months due to the fact that I've been tired. So hopefully, even though I will come back and I will have lost a wee bit of fitness from being out for a week, I am hoping that once I resume training a week or two after, I'll actually be fitter than I am now, and hopefully basically I'll reap the benefits of the discipline that I've shown to actually take a recovery week. And I think that's something that I wanted to add as well. That is a form of discipline that I really do think everyone should try to work on. And for me, it's really difficult to actually stop running and to actually stop doing things. I'm someone who always feels like I need to be doing something in order to feel like I'm being productive, and sometimes less really is more. So for me, over the last number of months, I think I have been training and chasing things, which, as I've said, is great, but it's not great when you're so tired or you're so stressed that that's undermining your performance and means you're not fulfilling your potential. So I think that rest this week will be a really good thing for me, and my body already feels better. As I've said, I'm seeing it in my heart rate, and I'm also seeing that my sleep, I've got over 8 hours of sleep now for about 3 days in a row, and that hadn't happened for at least a couple of months. So that's something that's really good, and hopefully that will help me going forward, because over the last number of months I've maybe quite often had about 5.5, 6.5 maybe hours sleep, but quite often it's not over 7, and that's not really good when you're trying to train hard. And a part of that is due to the nature of who I am and just the realities of my life, and that I have quite a busy job, and that does keep me occupied a lot of the time. And as soon as I'm maybe out of work, maybe it's say 6 or 7, I'll go straight for a run, and then as soon as I come home, it could be 9 o'clock, and I'll get dinner, and then maybe I'll start working on the YouTube videos, and I'll do that until 12 o'clock, and then I'll try to get to sleep at 12 o'clock, and I won't be able to sleep because I'm thinking about everything, and I maybe won't fall asleep to about 1:30, and then I'll wake up at about 5 or 6 because I'm ready to go, and I'm thinking about things that I should be doing in work. I'll think about things that I should be doing when I'm running. I'll think about things for the YouTube video, and I'm basically quite a lot of the time I'm operating on not a good amount of sleep, which isn't, as I've said, conducive for top level performance. And I'm hoping that over the next week, while I am resting, that I can allow my body to relax a wee bit. And that also means that going forward, I am going to try to need to change things a wee bit. I know these aren't maybe things that people would think that I would be talking about, because they are almost quite revealing about my life, I suppose. But I just think it's important that I do explain how I actually am feeling and what I do think has perhaps led to me not running the best that I possibly could. So I am going to try to start working on those things and to start trying to calm myself down. And that's probably easier said than done, but I'm going to start trying to get a bit better sleep, to make sure that I'm doing the training and then that I'm getting the right recovery, that I'm getting good sleep on the weekends when I can, and really just that I'm doing everything I can to make myself the best runner possible, because I really do think that I don't take shortcuts. As I've said before, I don't eat bad food, I don't drink alcohol, I've never taken drugs, never smoked. I will always do the core, I'll always do the gym every week, I will do all my runs every week, I'll do my runs every day. If I am working late, I'll make sure that I get the runs done, I'll make sure that I get the core work done, I'll make sure that I do my stretching, and I do that, nearly every day. And I just feel like that there's those small things that I'm not doing, which are probably easy to do, but they're also probably easy not to do, meaning like getting better recovery. And I suppose that's not really easy to do, because if I'm working quite late and then I go out for a run quite late, that's hard for me to recover properly. But really what I'm saying is that I'm going to try to work on that, and I'm going to try to make sure that I'm in a better place to be able to train, and that's just going to be something that I'm going to have to try and manage better moving forward. But I hope that's helpful in some way, and I hope that explains why I am taking a recovery week, and maybe that can help you decide that you should maybe do something similar if you feel you need it for whatever reason. Okay, yeah, so as I said before, my focus now over the next 8 weeks, once I resume training after this recovery week, is going to be on the indoor track season. And my aims are that at the start of January, I'm going to be able to enter either a 1500 meter or an 800 meter race, hopefully a 1500 meter race, because that is my favorite event. But if it's an 800 meter race, that would be great too. And hopefully either way, I can get a couple of races at each distance over the next few months once the new year resumes and the indoor track season resumes. That would be absolutely brilliant. And my two aims, I think, which are achievable, are for me to run under 350, or at least close to that, for the 1500 meters, and also for the 800 meters to run under 155. I haven't actually set myself targets for the outdoor track season, because I think it's better that you just gradually try to claw away at these times, and then I can start to talk about running quicker times in the summer. So what I'm saying is that there's no point me talking about running 345 or something like that now, when I'm clearly not there yet, because I only ran 358 in the summer. And that's how I've gone about my training over the last 12 months anyway. When I first started out, it was, right, can I run a 10K in 36, 37 minutes? And then a couple of months later, it was like, right, can I run it under 36? And then can I run it under 35? And then 34? And really, that's my aim this time with the track. I'm just going to see if I can make that slight progression from 358 to under 350, which is not a slight progression, really, it's quite a big progression. But I think I am there. And hopefully you'll see over the next few weeks in my videos and over the next 68 weeks what I'm doing to try to get myself ready for that indoor track season. And what really I am going to be doing, and I will document this, is showing my initial few weeks of getting back into the swing of things. That'll mainly be what I'm doing over the last couple of months, which is easy running and threshold training. And then a few weeks into that, I'm going to start doing some track sessions where I'm going to be focusing on more speed work and race specific things. And really, yeah, the idea there is just to add a bit of specificity as I get closer to the events. And hopefully that's going to be interesting for you, all you guys to follow. And for anyone who's doing track running, hopefully you'll find that interesting. And this type of training is also going to help me for the 5 and 10K. So again, if that's what you're interested in, hopefully you'll still find it beneficial to you, and hopefully it'll help you to gain an insight into what a track runner does for their training. And hopefully, yeah, you can just find something there to take from that. But for me, that is the main focus. Again, I already have in my head already, I think 350 is 61.333, so 61 and a third second laps for 3 3/4 laps of the track, as the lap of the track's 400 meters. So I need to basically get myself to a place where I can sustain that for 3 3/4 laps. And how I'm going to do that is by building my endurance over the next 68 weeks, which I feel like I already have been building for a long time now, but I'll continue to build that whilst adding in the race specific stuff over the next 6 to 8 weeks or so. And hopefully that'll get me in a place where I am in a condition to really compete and to really race for those times. Similarly, for the 800 to run 155, I think you'd need to run to 57.5 second laps. So that's something that I think I probably am quite close to be able to do already. But again, I'm just going to keep working on that endurance over the next few weeks, and then gradually I'll add some speed work. So hopefully you will all see that. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be doing over the next 8 to 10 weeks or so in order to prepare myself for the indoor track season, as I've just said. But if you're listening and you're wondering, right, what can I do to help myself over the next number of weeks, even if, say, you're not doing the track or you don't have a race planned, that's absolutely fine. I completely understand that a lot of the audience here won't necessarily be interested in competing on the track or competing even at all, and that's perfectly fine. But what my advice would be is to think about what you can do in a relatively short period of time to progress yourself. But when I say relatively short period of time, I think it's really important that people do give themselves a block of training where they allow themselves to build up fitness and not just test that fitness. And basically what I'm saying is, please do consider taking at least a 4, but probably more like a 6 to 8 week period to actually try and focus on becoming fitter without doing any kind of a fitness test or without doing any kind of a race, and just put that time into becoming a better runner and be patient and wait for 6 to 8 weeks and then do a race and try to see what your progress has been. If you haven't progressed in that time, then it's possible that you haven't improved your fitness and that maybe you need to look at 1 or 2 things, but it's very likely that you will improve your fitness and that you will find that your race results are better, especially if you haven't been consistently training before. So that would be really my advice. And I say that as someone who's made the mistakes which I've just spoken about in the past. So I played Gaelic football there for a number of years, and I was very guilty in the off season of going out and running a 5k and then trying to run it quicker a week later, and then doing a week's training, and then a week after that trying to run it quicker again. And basically I just got to the stage where I was time trialing myself at very regular intervals, and that works for a very short period of time, but quickly after that you will plateau, and that's not really something that you want, because it can lead to dissatisfaction and it can lead to low confidence because you see that your results aren't getting better. But it can also lead to burnout because you're pushing your body as much as you possibly can too often, and you're just going to overload your body with work, and you're not actually going to get the results that you should be getting and that you would get if you were actually doing slightly easier training and just being more patient before you try and test your fitness. So really, in a nutshell, what I'm saying is, if you haven't got a race planned, do consider taking about an 8-week period where you just do some base building and do some easy running. I have a video on easy running from a few weeks back, so if you look into my channel and go onto the homepage, you'll see that video on easy running is there. It's really, really helpful in allowing you to develop fitness. There's also my video on training for a 14-minute 5k, which talks about threshold training, and it doesn't just talk about how threshold training has been good for me. I talk about how you can implement that. So I would suggest, if you haven't got a race planned, that you look into creating a 6 to 8 week block of training for yourself, which really just consists predominantly of easy running and maybe some threshold training. Basically, that's just training at your anaerobic threshold, which is about the speed you could run at for an hour. And a really good way of doing that training is breaking that into intervals. But that's something that should really just be incorporated alongside your easy running, and your easy running should make up the majority of your training. So your easy running should be about 80% of your total weekly volume, and the threshold stuff and anything's quicker can be about 20% of your weekly volume. But even for the first couple of weeks, if you're not doing that much mileage, just focus on easy running and then incorporate some interval training and then some maybe harder interval training, and you really will be surprised at the progress you can make in 6 to 8 weeks. But also, maybe if you haven't started running or you're just doing a wee bit, maybe do a time trial then this week, so you have an indication of what your fitness is, and then go into an 8-week block of training or a 6-week block of training. But I think an 8-week block's good because it's about 2 months long, and it allows you to develop a base of fitness, but also it's not too much time that you can't really envisage the goal race. So what I'm saying is, it's a short enough period of time where you can keep yourself motivated and disciplined and try to say, right, I've got this target race or this target time trial ahead of me, and I want to see how I've progressed. So that would be my advice, really. If you haven't got an indication of your fitness, think about doing a time trial now, say, and then go into a 68-week block of training and just see what your progress is. And you should find that your progress is very good if you haven't been training consistently before. And hopefully you'll all find that if you follow some of the things that I've said in those videos, in this one and the ones I've just mentioned there, that you really can make strides forward. And I think that would be really, really good for your fitness. So yeah, that's my advice on that one. Okay, so I just thought I would throw out a few ideas that I have for the next number of videos that I'm planning to do. Also, I'm just going to use this opportunity to encourage anyone who does have any suggestions to leave them in the comment section below. I was planning on doing a video in the next number of weeks about what I eat in a day, because I thought that this might be something that people would find interesting, because although what I do eat is good food and I don't eat any junk food or anything like that, I do eat quite a lot of food, and people might find this surprising, and maybe people would just find this interesting to know what I eat as a runner, and maybe they could use that information to help them think about maybe what their diet should be consisting of, and maybe how they can go about planning their diet around races and training and things like that there. So that was one idea that I had for a video, and I probably will do that over the next few weeks. I'm also definitely going to do a video on my lab testing, which I'm going to be getting done in the next month or so, and basically that's just going to consist of me going to a lab and running on the treadmill and getting my VO2 max information, which I'll explain in that video that I do. And I'm also going to be hopefully getting my threshold paces, and basically the purpose of that video will be to, well, for me, it's going to allow me to see where my fitness is at, what my VO2 max is, what my threshold pace is, but it's also going to inform you guys about how you can perhaps think about getting that done for yourself, and about what that information actually means. And it's hopefully going to help you understand what information can help you inform your own training. So hopefully you'll find that insightful if I do that. But yeah, basically I just wanted to let you guys know what the next couple of videos might be about. I'm also going to be doing videos which are hopefully going to be really beneficial, which are going to explain the training that I'm doing in a particular week, and I'm going to be giving you a bit of an insight into the training that I'm doing, and I'm going to be showing you snippets and clips from this training, and hopefully it's just going to basically get you to see more of the actual training that I'm doing and get really an insight into my life and how I go about my training and my day. So yeah, hopefully you'll find those videos interesting, and hopefully you can find them of some use for yourselves when they come out. But yeah, do feel free to put any suggestions in the comment section below, and I'll read them as always. So thank you for that. I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who has been supporting the channel so far. I really cannot get over the amount of people who have written me messages both through the channel and on Instagram to say that they really enjoy the content and that they're really looking forward to see how I progress in my journey, and long may that continue. So what I want people to know is that I am going to do everything I can, as I've said, to get to as high a level as possible, and also to create as much content as I can for you guys, so that you can become better runners and that you can just enjoy your life more by having a better exercise regime. Those are really the main purposes of the channel. I also think that athletics is a sport that just doesn't get enough attention, and that it's not broadcasted enough, and that's only really the fault of the athletes and the people who are involved in the organization of athletics, because athletics should be more watched and people should be more interested in running, in my opinion, because I think it's a great sport. So what I'm really saying that for is because I think that this channel can hopefully help more people to become interested in running through hopefully seeing my progress, but also seeing what running and what exercise can do for them and how beneficial it can be for their happiness. And I really hope that that's something that people realize, and that people realize that it's a really, really great sport. It's a really tough sport, but it's very, very good for you, and it will make you feel really happy when you start it. And hopefully, yeah, people can basically just become interested in my journey and use that to develop their own fitness. And that's really just what I wanted to say to finish. But look, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you soon. In the meantime, take care. Bye.